want to do a third match of my recent Vintage League playing Grixis Thieves. We're on the draw, and we're going to keep it's a passable hand. It loses to shops, and turn 1 wins, but has a Pyroblast for interaction, Treasure Cruise to build towards, and a Jace, and a Time Walk if we feel like trying to accelerate any of these. Our opponent's mulling low, which could indicate dredge. And it's a mana crypt. This is one of those times we wish we had a misstep. Just as top tends to be really good in a long game, which is what we're aiming for here. Okay, so we can play out the Delta. In their end step, we're probably going to, if we're not provoked into using the Pyroblast, we're probably going to fetch for a Volk. And then the Misty will be used to fetch for a Delta. Sorry, not a Delta, a C. Reason being we just want to start thinning. And I think it's perfectly reasonable to Pyroblast the Ponder here. They're very low on cards. We don't want to give them a shuffle with the top in play. And we want to try to, just given the position that we're in, where we have quite a full grip, with a fair bit of action going on, and they just have nothing, we just want to keep ahead for long enough until we can grind them out, more or less. It's going to be made harder by top, but if we can keep him off his cantrips and off his draw spells, then it's likely to go much better. We have a mana drain, so I think we just want to, whatever he does next turn, we just want to mana drain it so we can just get a Jace out. We'd ideally like to mana drain something like a Tinker, so that we can untap and Jace and Time Walk. But we'll settle for a Preordain. Once again, we just really don't want to let him filter enough that he can actually start finding lands or shuffle effects or anything. We want to leave him just drawing whatever's on top or within the top 3 cards. So I think we should have held the Delta there. The reason to hold the Delta is so that we've got a shuffle effect after we play the Jace for next turn, so that we can just shuffle away the crap on top of our library. And so our opponent's clearly desperately trying to find a Force of Will. I think we'd really, really like him to find a Force here. I think it would really benefit us. The reason being we can always Time Walk into Treasure Cruise next turn to draw back up, and it would leave him with almost no cards. So at the moment there's a fair incentive a lot of the time to tick up Jace when you first play him. There's a lot of lightning bolts going around with the blue, white, red mentor deck. However, we haven't actually seen him play a land yet, so I don't think it's worth us playing around it. Especially because he would have to have a land plus a lightning bolt. He drops a Tundra. So it could actually be the... Could actually be the Mentor deck, just based on that one land, but it's still a bit early to say for sure. It's also worth noting that he has enough mana to cast a Mentor right now. Okay, so we're going to be pretty happy to cast a Time Walk here. I think we really should have used our fetch there, as it gets us one extra card that we get to see next turn. Actually, it gets us a lot of extra cards we get to see next turn. And we're going to cast the Cruise no matter what. Okay, and we definitely want to keep the Dak Faden, and I think the Strip Mine's pretty good too, actually. The Strip Mine will take care of his land. We don't want to deploy the Dak till next turn. When we do deploy the Dak, we're probably just going to loot immediately. Or we can steal his Mox, strip his Tundra, leave him with just a Mana Crypt, and play a Mana Denial plan. So he's clearly planning on something. Okay, so the Underground Sea tells us he's most likely on an outcome deck. The most common colours for the current outcome decks are Esper, usually playing a Mentor as their win con of choice. So I think if he has enough action here, we're actually in trouble, just given we've managed to find nothing but mana for a little while. However, if he tries to Paradoxical, we're actually going to abrade his top. We're going to abrade his top when he goes to draw from it, I should say, with a Force of Will backup. So. Actually, he wouldn't be able to get a particularly good Paradoxical here anyway. Not with the mana he's got available. Okay, so he's looking to paying cost, so he's looking to cast a Delve spell. So it's probably Treasure Cruise or Dig Through Time. I think he ideally wants Dig Through Time to get rid of whatever's on top of his library, because he's already able to dig. Okay, so we're just going to force the Cruise. I think even if he had a Fluster, we might have been able to pay for it there, and he's just scooped. It's too far behind now. We're going to bring in the Mindbreak Traps. We're going to bring in a Notion Thief. So Notion Thief is the reason we feel a bit favoured coming into the Paradoxical matchups. A Notion Thief at the right time just shuts down their entire game plan and throws the game away for them. I think we want the Abrade over definitely want the Jace over the Deluge. Jace is our best way to keep ahead on cards, and they might be fast, but I think we tend to have enough time to deploy a Jace. Deluge is for Mentor. I think Deluge is usually, at least against the Paradoxical decks, a matter of too little too late. If they manage to get to the point where they can resolve a Mentor and go off, or do anything with a Mentor, we've already lost the game. So I think we're better off just dealing with things like a Braid can deal with a Mentor straight away when it hits the table, or it can just nuke a random Mox, or even things like a Time Vault if they try to go that way. So the sorcery speed of the Deluge is a real problem. We're going to be on the draw, and with this hand we want to. We've got a Force of Will to protect us. We've got a draw 3 and a Preordain. And while often I'm a big fan of the turn 1 Preordain, I think we might hold up Flusterstorm instead and Brainstorm end of their turn. Especially with this start, which looks pretty good from them. We wish we had a misstep. Okay, I think we're really happy to see that Ponder. We also should not have played Island over Volk there. We want Volk to represent both Red Blast and, in case we draw a fetch land, it means we can fetch away the basic island and grab a sea, just so we develop our mana base properly. We only have a small splash of red and black cards, but they do tend to be quite high impact cards. So black we get Vamp Tutor, Notion Thief, and DT and Yorksville. Red we get Dak Faden and Pyroblast. So we're definitely going to Flusterstorm here if our opponent tries to go for a Paradoxical, which they do have the mana to do at the moment. Although actually they might have to draw, by the looks of it, they'd have to draw it off the top, which I guess would mean that they'd only then net 2 cards, so probably not worthwhile. Having said that, I think it might be correct to, if they do draw with top and go to replay it, actually force it. Just given what we have in hand, I think we're going to find enough gas. We really should be cantripping here. So this is playing far too cautiously and far too scared of tapping out. God only knows where our opponent's topping again. Okay, so Voltaic Servant, it's a card that's been seeing a small amount of play in these paradoxical decks as an additional free Voltaic key. So we need to be really careful that we don't allow Time Vault to get through now. Okay, so he's probably going to use this to draw an extra card off top. No, he's not. Okay. And we're going to shuffle off that Ponder. We're in desperate need of a land right now. And with double force of will, don't think we're terribly worried about anything else. Git Probe is seeing nothing particularly exciting in our opponent's hand. He's got a balance with no defense. And we might pitch might have been worthwhile pitching Misstep there, or even possibly the Jace. Just because at least I think the Abrade can deal with an artifact somewhere. In fact, maybe we should have just abraded the Voltaic Servant and taken away his clock. He's probably going to want to resolve his balance this turn. In fact, I think he should have held off playing a land until he should have kept a land in hand, cast the balance. Alright, so we can misstep the mana vault, which is going to let us. We can now dig through time this turn, holding up Flusterstorm, which I don't think is actually worthwhile anymore. So I think we might pitch the Flusterstorm to the Force of Will. Okay, so opponent's going to draw with top. He's going to cast a Force, is he? I think we can afford to let the mana vault resolve. He's already high on mana and low on everything else, I think. So if I think he wants to cast Balance, now's the time. Or is he worried about losing the Voltaic Servant here? Alright, so we're going to leave the Abrade in the graveyard. And we're definitely going to force the Ancestral. And I think we want to take our own Ancestral on a Time Walk. And so we can't quite snap. So we can't quite snap Ancestral Time Walk there, can we? That doesn't matter though, we'll get Snap Ancestral while our opponent has nothing but Balance in hand. So draw a million cards, take care of Academy, let him draw his Sensei's Divining Top. He can draw the top, we can force the balance, and then I think we can Jace and Time Walk next turn. And then I think okay, so we should have pitched we should be pitching the Flusterstorm here. But anyway, so next turn, Jace, Time Walk, then perhaps bounce the Snap, Time Walk again. I think that could be a fun couple of turns. And I think if we can Jace into Dak and take the Voltaic Servant, we'll be looking really good. Okay, and I think that Notion Thief is probably going to be able to help us close out the game. Alright, cool. So we're going to get cute and we're going to snap Time Walk. Or snap a Braid. Okay, so I think that's reasonable. Now we get to hold up Force of Will and Mana Drain for whatever our opponent wants to do next turn. Okay, and we'll just get to win the match instead.